Alexander Midas was the last tier before the great difficulty change of 14's raid design. Alexander Creator, the follow-up raid tier to Midas, would see significant difficulty changes to align with Square Enix's future vision of Savage being accessible to the wider community. This design can be seen in the completion times for both tiers, comparing Midas' 17 days to Creator's 2 days world progression completion. In a tier where the last fight was said to be the ultimate before ultimate, there was one specific boss that rocked the community in week 1 progression teams. A boss well before the beast that was known as Brute Justice. A boss that resided in the Cuff of the Sun. The Cuff of the Sun hosted a madness of metal in the form of 4 mini-bosses: Blaster, Brawler, Swindler, and Vortexer. Fuck Vortexer. This was one of the few raid encounters in Final Fantasy XIV's history where a difficulty nerf was implemented whilst the tier was ongoing. Additionally, this fight had a game-breaking bug located at the final phase of the encounter, a bug that lasted the whole of week 1 and was not fixed until the Tuesday maintenance of week 2. A bug that Square Enix never acknowledged and sneakily patched out. This bug was referred to as the infamous water bug. After defeating Blaster, Brawler and Swindler and dealing with their mechanical madness, you were now ready to battle Vortexer. One of Vortex's main mechanics was needing to pass elemental debuffs between players, debuffs that had a 20-second timer. This elemental dance was initiated by Vortex's elemental jammer ability. This would spawn a lightning and water debuff on 2 party members, which had to be transferred to other players once the countdown resolved. The water debuff on passing would spawn a water spout on the ground. This water spout then had to be frozen by an ice puddle to later be used as a line of sight dodge for Vortex's room-wide AoE Ultra Flash. The game-breaking bug occurred around the water debuff pass mechanic. On sharing the water debuff with 3 to 4 players to lighten the AoE damage, the mechanic would fail to resolve and wipe the entire party, even if you passed the debuff correctly. It was said to have about an 80% failure rate, but it honestly seemed like 100% for us at the time, as we reached Vortexer multiple times over the course of 5 days as a semi-hardcore static. This was extremely demoralizing due to the placement of the bug, the existence of it, and the amount of focus required to reach Vortexer every time, only to be Typhoon Lagooned by the water bug. Before it was confirmed as a bug by the community, many theories came forward regarding how to pass the water debuff. Some theories said only pass it between certain classes, others said wait for a specific timer before engaging Vortexer. There were wacky things going on, and there were things groups were experimenting with, and all sorts of degrees in order to get through the mechanic. Hardcore groups were able to out-RNG the water bug due to the 15+ hour day raid schedules that came with the hardcore playstyle. It took the world first group 3 days after the patch launch to clear A6S. As more semi-hardcore groups caught up with the A6S in late week 1, the bug started to make rounds in the community, eventually getting reported to Square Enix's official forums under the bug report section, as recommended by a staff member on Reddit. Now this is where it gets juicy. So, the bug gets reported to the forums, and it later gets moved by Square Enix to the working as intended section of the bug report forum. This only fed more into the wild theories and conspiracies regarding the mechanic. Secondly, Square Enix's known issues post on the 2nd of March mentioned nothing of the A6S bug, instead only mentioning orchestra stroll issues. However, the bug then had been magically fixed on the same day, the same morning maintenance that message was posted. The bug was fixed, but still no mention of the bug. To quickly summarize the first half of this issue, A6S had a game-breaking bug at the end of the fight, which had an extremely high fail rate. Only some hardcore groups have gotten past it due to a heavy raid schedule being able to out-RNG it. The bug is reported to Square Enix. Their reply to the bug report is that it's working as intended. It doesn't get mentioned in the known issues lodestone post or in the maintenance notes on the same morning, and then it is fixed. Why did SE brush this under the rug? Honestly, I can only speculate, but SE most likely knew that only a handful of groups would experience the bug in week 1 before they could fix it at the start of week 2. It's possible that they did not announce the bug and its severity due to the fact that it would bring more attention to failed beta testing. Mitigating negative publicity to only a handful of groups who are on cutting edge prog in week 1 is a much lower risk than admitting it through official community channels and informing those who had not yet experienced it. A6S would later receive a round of nerfs after the majority of the 14 community had complained about the encountered difficulty. Many posts were made prompting people's experiences of the fight, threads comparing progression time, threads comparing difficulty, and so on. After a while, this prompted Square Enix to roll out a mid-patch nerf at around week 9. Regarding these nerfs, every mini-boss got hit with an adjustment, which are as followed. Blaster. The number of mines deployed has been reduced. Damage dealt by the Mirage Supercharge, reduced. Brawler. Damage dealt by Plower Plasma Beta Ultra Power Plasma, what a name, reduced. Swindler. Medan's Gunner's HP, reduced. And Vortexer, overall HP reduced. And damage dealt by the passing of the debuffs reduced. So these 4 buffs overall knocked down another difficulty level. Do bear in mind though that these nerfs were applied around 9 weeks into the tier, which would have adjusted the fight for casual and mid-core level statics. In the end, A6S was an overtuned fight as a second boss and had not been tested enough for live servers. Week 1 progression groups suffered and Square Enix never admitted to the bug. The tier marked the last Savage design that truly challenged all types of players and is often looked back on as a solid tier overall despite its issues and cheesing. We have since moved into an era of accessible Savage raiding, with Ultimate taking on the role that tiers such as Gordius and Midas once had. I hope you enjoyed the content, and if you'd like to see another version of this video for Gordius, then please do give it a like. For now, I am out.